I find it's a lot very helpful to bottom water your smaller seed, smaller stem microgreens to avoid mold. Top down watering will weigh down, the thin, kind of weak stems of these kinds of varieties, as opposed to green pea, sunflower, bean. Those stems are tougher. They won't touch. They also grow. The seeds are bigger, so the stems are going to be further apart, less likely to have contact while wet, which is what causes the rotting to happen and inevitably the mold. So I really prefer bottom watering the small seeds, but the question is how, using a 10 by 20 tray. 10 by 20 by 2 3/4 are my trays. And yes, they're cheap and they're delicate on the corners, like everyone says, and they're also difficult to harvest when you don't use that much soil. So the bottom of the microgreens is a bit tough to get to. I use about 1/2 inch layer of soil, and it's more than enough for one-time use, because I throw my soil or I compost it once I'm done, and so I don't need that much. We don't need that much for small seeds. I find generally it's tough to water microgreens without knowing exactly how much is in there. So I think it's a great idea to measure, like I noticed some growers are doing, see what works for you. I know some people have different amounts, but it's because we're all in different environments, right? Different climates, so different moisture, humidity, dryness level will alter the evaporation rate of our trays. So you got to see what works for you. I definitely suggest that, but my strategy also helps to figure out how much quantity to add at first. My method will definitely help with that. I haven't seen anyone else doing this, so this is why I'm sharing. I wanted to say also, my strategy for bottom watering helps to ensure that there's an even amount of water distributed. So you see this video here by On The Grow. They did an experiment between Kratky bottom watering, but they also use like additives, which I do not have no interest in whatsoever. Store commercially bought nutrients and stuff, pH, like all these additives to their water. I'm not a fan of hydro growing, no dirt. I'm not a fan of these bottom feeding trays. A, because of their cost. B, because of the amount of work in cleaning them. But also C, I'm not interested in, and C, I don't really fancy the idea of growing my food in still water, or water that's been still for multiple days. So here they're growing these peas, and they're doing an experiment growing these peas in this solution water. They've added some nutrient solution to the water, and without any soil or substrate in the trays, you see the roots grow right through into the water. I'm not a fan of not growing my food in soil, my veggies, fruits in soil. But that being said, so basically when I started microgreening, I learned basically everything to Curtis Stone. I owe everything, all my growing. I don't do it commercially, but all my produce, all my harvest, I'm very thankful to Curtis for all of his online tutorials, his YouTube videos, all his education that he's shared over the years. So this is a dated video of his from 2017, and basically ever since, a lot of growers have been using the 1-inch microgreen flats. What do you call them? Bottom watering flats. So Curtis Stone's company's called paperpot.com.
Flat, so you can see they're just a little bit bigger. It's about 20% more in square inches, so I add 20% more with all of my seed densities. So again, see how these just bend and flex like that,
And here's the other guy, Runner Farmer. So yeah, January 2019, not September.
Just in a typical 4-foot shop rack like you see here. We like these because they're very rigid and they sit within each other very evenly. Like I showed you on the last flat, how they dip. And I'm not going to say these don't dip. They do, just nowhere near as much as the other ones. So you can see just right off the bat. Even space, even space. And like I said, these still dip a little bit, you can see in the middle, but not nearly as much. The growing consistency that we've been able.
So I don't have any issue with growing inconsistency, dryness on the corners because of not reaching water and whatnot that you'll get with the cheaper flats like he's talking about here. That are less rigid and they cave in the middle and whatnot. I don't have to worry about that problem with the 10 by 20, and I'm guessing if you're watching the video, you also won't have to worry about that if you're also using 10 by 20. Some of you might be still on the fence and doing some research to make your decision.
Able to accomplish with these flats has been phenomenal. You can see here just how well those corners line up. And each pair is like this. There's very minimal inconsistencies. We've been able to improve our yields. I don't have to worry about corners drying out too bad. And let's just check the rigidity between these ones.
Here's where he links the company Bootstrap Farmer for those trays. But if you're on the fence, this is something you definitely have to consider if you're going to end up going with bottom watering trays. All right, so the other microgreen grower that came up in the top results of my best microgreen flat search is Josh Satin. So this is a somewhat helpful video on microgreen trays. He talks about a lot of numbers and a lot of pricing comparison, but I couldn't really understand the different, like with what trays exactly he was talking about at any given time, whether they were hold trays or non-hold trays, like bottom watering trays or regular trays. So it was a bit confusing for me, but he does say some helpful tips, which I'm gonna play for you right now.
3 cents a piece, and 60 trays is $3.33 per tray. And I think that's a pretty solid deal for $3.33 per tray because they will last you a long time. So if you do go down the Bootstrap Farmer route, you can get a pretty solid deal if you're buying a bunch of trays at once. And this is prices without shipping, although I think Bootstrap Farmer is free shipping. Greenhouse Megastore. Now, I told you those are those super flimsy ones, and I did just buy 100 of each of them just because I needed a bunch of trays in a pinch. And I always say context is everything, and sometimes you have to buy what you can afford at the time. And so for right now, I needed a bunch of trays very quickly as I was expanding my microgreens operation, so I bought 100 of each just recently.
So very true information, 100% correct. We have a budget that we have to live by, so whatever meets our budget at the end of the day. That's how I started, is with the cheaper $3 Canadian trays that are readily available at my local hardware store. I didn't really have patience to order online and all that. That was another reason. But he does say that Bootstrap Farmer has the nicest trays at the nicest price, basically. So I went to go check them out, and you see the tray here. So now we know he was talking about the non-bottom watering, like without the holes, not the double tray with holes, just the plain regular like I use, but the thicker one version, and the 1 or 1.25 inch tall trays, which I now would recommend. Here is Greenhouse Megastore, which he just also mentioned. And just to let you know, before you leave the site, they will offer you an extra 10% if you subscribe to their newsletter. So pretend you're leaving the site before you make an order. No, I'm bad. I was looking at their trays, and there are thin trays, like he said. Still no reviews here, but I selected no holes 10 pack, and it came out to $20. $19.50 from $35. It says like $35, but with the bulk price, it's $19.50 per 10 pack. It just does not say the rigidity of them, the thickness of these trays, which it should say, and it also doesn't say what currency it is pricing in. A lot of sites don't say that, but you should 1.29 height. Yeah, so you should definitely consider or take that advice that they are the thin version trays, and I guess the price will speak for itself. But I would strongly suggest to save up weight if you're going to be growing like on a low scale for a long time. If you're going to be using 10 trays at least for a long time for just you and your family. For just between me and my girlfriend, we could use 6 trays at any given time easily. During the summer months, we tend to grow more microgreens, so keep that in mind. I also went to Paper Pot, which is the other site that what's his name, Josh Satin, talks about, and a lot of growers also recommend. This is Curtis Stone. I don't know if it's his company or if he's a partner or how it works with Curtis Stone, but this is these are the trays that Curtis uses and the company he's affiliated with. So you can't see here. I'll move that over. So you see a 20 pack I selected is $160 almost. And yeah, they are heavy duty, but if you compare to Bootstrap Farmer, a 10 pack is $53. So for 20 trays, you're looking at about $106. That's assuming they're in the same currency. Neither site says what currency I'm looking at here. I'm in Canada, so I don't know if that's American or Canadian, but I'm assuming they would be in the same currency, and basically a huge difference from 106 to 160. The only issue with the issue also with the Paper Pot trays is the ridges on the side here that don't allow you to properly stack the trays. For the weight on the above trays to help press the seeds in and develop the strong root strength. Whereas the bootstrap farmer trays look like they don't have those ridges, and you would be able to do that that stacking, and you would be able to use the trays toward the top of your pile to your advantage, in helping to press down your seeds and have that strong root development. So at the end of the day, there's my suggestion. Bootstrap Farmer, of the more popular microgreen sites, is definitely a better price point. Also stackable and long lasting, and we also see that they're available right now at Bootstrap Farmer, whereas as a lot of people say, that paper pot is very frequently out of stock. And let's see here. We are currently sold out of 10 packs of trays. We will not have 10 packs until May 1st. So I guess that will all depend on when you're ready, and if this is the kind of tray you're looking for, it's worth a try to see if they have them in stock. But it's unfortunate they tend to be more out of stock than everyone else. So coming back to Josh's video here, he asks viewers to share any other sources, tray sources, or shops that they know of. And so it's this is a good thread to keep your eye on. And I was browsing through, and I saw some noteworthy comments. So Flimley ones work in a pinch, but I'm not pleased at all with them. They sit in direct sunlight for more than just they're very delicate, especially the corners. Like, I don't even use my trays, on a commercial basis, and I'm very careful with them, and I've lost a lot of trays to having holes in my corners. So definitely heed that advice. It's definitely a very valid point that people make when they say the flimsy trays are not as long lasting. See, comment here says, thanks for the review. I've bought a few from Lowe's Hardware, but very expensive. Amazon is also expensive, and the trays are inconsistent. I own Carter Sprout House in Hickory, North Carolina. I have done a few trial and error purchases. I'll definitely check out these recommendations. And another user here with the same advice to just save and make the upfront investment with the bootstrap trays. Will save you money, time, and aggravation. It's a big nut to crack starting out, but if you have validated your market, it's totally worth it. Also, if you've been buying microgreens from a supplier for a long time, and you're just getting ready to grow your own for your family, like I do, and you're going to be doing it for a long time, definitely worth the investment. And then for those who are considering also expanding into a business, you will obviously continue using them into your business adventures. Food grade safe. So all the trays that were mentioned in my video here are food grade safe. Usually the title germination tray will give it away, or microgreen tray. So people can't be selling microgreen or germination trays that are not food grade safe. So you see on Paper Pot's website here, right? Paper Pot, germination tray, greenhouse megastore, germination tray. So that'll give it away. But if you look into the if you browse the website, I'm sure you'll find more info or in the description down below. Talking about buying online, so you have to be careful. That's the only issue is you know, some trays out there are not food grade safe, so you just want to make sure you know who you're buying from, that maybe you can sure you know who you're buying from. You can maybe see their website, or you remember seeing them in the past and now maybe they're going out of business and such, or there's markings on the tray that you can verify that they're food grade safe microgreen trays, germination trays. But otherwise, it's a great idea. You know, it's very common that businesses go out of business and people are ready to scoop up great deals on great supplies because, you know, the owners have to move out of their rental units. Some case move long distance to other states or whatnot, and they're pretty anxious to get rid of their products, of their materials for a great price. So great advice there as well. That's it for now. Thanks again for watching. Please check out my other videos. I have a lot of different types of videos, including my bottom watering technique. It's a very helpful technique to ensure even watering and good soil saturation. Thanks again.